I always thought betrayal would be something I'd see coming, something that would crawl into my life with warning signs, with gut feelings I couldn't ignore. But when it hit me, it felt like getting blindsided by a truck, swift, brutal, and leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. The moment I found out Jane was cheating on me, I wasn't snooping. I wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble found me. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I had just finished a long shift, and all I wanted was to go home, crack open a beer, and maybe get some time with my wife, if she wasn't in one of her moods. Lately, she had been distant, but I chalked it up to stress, maybe work. But now, I realized she wasn't pulling away from life. She was pulling away from me. I walked into the house, expecting the usual silence or the sound of her typing away on her laptop. Instead, I heard her voice, not just talking, giggling, soft, flirty, like she was a teenager with a crush. I froze in the doorway, my fingers tightening around my keys. Then I heard his voice, low, confident, comfortable. In my house, I didn't even feel my body move. 1 second, I was standing there, and the next, I was storming toward the living room, where Jane was curled up on the couch, her phone on speaker. "Oh, come on," the guy chuckled. "You know I treat you better than he does. You deserve better, babe." Babe. I stopped dead in my tracks. My own wife was lying on our couch, laughing while some other man called her babe. And she wasn't shutting it down. She wasn't telling him no. She wasn't saying, "I have a husband." She was loving it. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. My voice came out steady, too steady. "Who's that, Jane?" she gasped, eyes going wide. And in one swift motion, she ended the call and dropped her phone like it was on fire. Like that would erase what I just heard. "Harry," she said, too quickly, too breathless, scrambling to sit up. "You're home early." I ignored the pathetic attempt to dodge the question. I said, "Who the hell was that?" She ran a hand through her hair, exhaling sharply. "Lying already." I could see it in her eyes. "It's just a friend. Just a friend, Harry. You're overreacting." I let out a sharp laugh. "Overreacting? A friend just called you babe, and you giggled like a damn high schooler. Try again." Her expression shifted, morphing into annoyance. "Oh, so now I can't have male friends? Jesus, Harry, you're acting crazy." Crazy. That word hit me harder than the betrayal itself. Because when a woman gets caught, when a liar gets cornered, they don't confess. They gaslight. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. I wasn't the kind of guy to lose my temper, but I felt something rising inside me, something I hadn't felt before. "Don't pull that bull's asterisk on me, Jane. I heard you. I heard everything. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes, like she was bored, like I was some nuisance she had to deal with. "You're being paranoid. It was just flirting. It's harmless." Flirting. Harmless. Those words rattled around in my skull, burning like acid. That was her defense? That it was just flirting? She didn't even deny it. I inhaled slowly, staring at her, really staring. And for the first time, I saw Jane for what she really was. Not the woman I married. Not the person I had loved, fought for, worked my ass off to provide for. No, she was a liar, a cheater, a selfish, heartless, manipulative woman who had no respect for me, for our marriage, for anything. "You disgust me," I muttered, the words tasting like venom. She scoffed. "Oh, give me a break, Harry. You act like I slept with him." "Yet," I said coldly. For the first time, her face changed. It was only for a second, but I saw it, the flicker of panic, of guilt, of truth. And then it hit me like a freight train. This wasn't the beginning of something. This was the middle of something. She had already crossed the line. The air in the room grew heavier, charged, like a thunderstorm was about to hit. I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat, the rage crawling up my spine, and I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Harry clenched his fists, feeling his pulse hammer against his skull as Jane stood there, arms crossed, lips curled in a smirk like she was the one who had caught him doing something wrong. The audacity was unbelievable. He had read the texts, seen the hotel receipts, even scrolled through the congratulatory messages her friend Mary had sent, cheering her on like she had just won a damn gold medal in betrayal. So, what, you're just going to stand there and glare at me all night? Jane scoffed, rolling her eyes. You should have talked to me before snooping around like some obsessed psycho. Harry let out a sharp laugh, but there was nothing funny about this. Talk to you? You mean like how you talked to Brad? Oh wait, no, you didn't talk. You were too busy booking hotel rooms and sending your little adventures to Mary. Jane's eyes darkened for a moment, her lips pressing together before she sighed dramatically, like he was exhausting her. You made me do this, she said, shaking her head. You're so boring, Harry. You're predictable. You come home. You kiss me on the forehead like some 50-year-old suburban dad, and then you expect me to just sit around and waste my best years. Harry's breath hitched, his stomach twisting into knots. That cut deeper than any lie she had told so far. Waste your best years? He repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. What the hell do you think I've been doing? I've worked my ass off to give us a good life. I've been faithful, Yeah. And you were fine with me seeing other people. Jane snapped, throwing her arms in the air. You didn't say a damn word when I suggested it, so don't act like you're some wounded victim now. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Suggesting it? He took a step forward, his voice rising. You didn't suggest it, Jane. You announced it. You sat across from me at dinner, looked me straight in the eye, and told me that you deserved more excitement before you settled down completely. And like an idiot, I thought. He stopped himself, jaw tightening. He thought maybe she would get it out of her system. Maybe she would realize what she had before she burned it to the ground. But no. Jane didn't just light the match. She poured gasoline all over their marriage and danced in the flames. She let out an exasperated sigh. Oh my God. Harry, stop acting like you didn't know what was going to happen. You agreed to it. No, Harry said coldly. I agreed because I thought I had a wife who respected me, not someone who'd run around behind my back, laughing about it with her friends. Jane's smirk returned, but this time it had an edge to it, something sharp and cruel. Oh, come on. You wouldn't have lasted, anyway. I mean, Brad is way more fun than you. He actually takes me places, treats me like a damn queen. The next thing Harry knew, his fist was slamming into the wall beside her head. Not at her, never at her, but the sheer force of it sent a crack running down the drywall. Jane didn't even flinch. If anything, she grinned, like she wanted to see him lose control. Go ahead, she said, her voice taunting. Throw a tantrum. It won't change the fact that I chose him over you. Something inside him snapped. The pain, the anger, the humiliation. It all melted into something deadly calm. Chose? He echoed, his voice eerily steady. Jane, you didn't choose anything. You lost everything. She rolled her eyes again, like he was being dramatic, like she hadn't just obliterated their life together. Please, Harry, you're not going anywhere. You're too much of a coward to leave me, and you know it. He laughed softly, shaking his head. Oh, Jane, you really don't get it, do you? And then he turned on his heel and walked away, leaving her standing there, smug and oblivious, because she had no idea. No idea that while she was busy sneaking around, he had been planning, calculating. She thought she had won. But the real game, it hadn't even started yet. Harry walked out of the room without another word, but inside, his mind was already spinning 100 miles an hour. Jane thought she had the upper hand, that he would just stand there and take it, like some weak fool who couldn't do anything but whine about his feelings. She had no idea. She had underestimated him. He grabbed his keys off the counter and walked straight to his car. He wasn't even sure where he was going yet, but he needed to get out of that house before he did something he'd regret. The night air hit his face like a slap, cool and refreshing, cutting through the rage boiling in his veins. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles turning white. Then, almost on instinct, he pulled out his phone and called the one person who would understand. His best friend, Eric. Dude, it's almost midnight. What's up? Eric's voice was groggy but snapped awake the moment he heard Harry's tone. She's cheating. With Brad. It's been going on for months. Harry's voice was steady, but there was a dangerous edge to it. A long silence, then a slow, drawn-out exhale. "Tell me where you are." "I'm coming." 20 minutes later, they were sitting in Eric's driveway, 2 beers open but barely touched. Harry had just finished telling him everything, about the texts, the hotel receipts, Jane's complete lack of shame. Eric shook his head, disgust written all over his face. "I knew she was bad news, man. Always had this smugness, like she thought she was better than you. But this is a whole new level of scum." Harry let out a bitter chuckle. "Yeah, well, I let it happen. I let her convince me that this was normal, that I was the problem for not being exciting enough." He looked down at the beer in his hand, rolling the bottle between his fingers. "She actually laughed, Eric. When I confronted her, she smirked like I was some idiot kid who just realized Santa isn't real." Eric's jaw clenched. "So what now? You going for a divorce?" Harry exhaled slowly. "Oh, she's going to wish I just walked away." Eric turned to him, eyebrows raised. "What are you planning?" Harry took a sip of his beer, eyes locked ahead. "I'm going to make her regret ever thinking she could do this to me. She thinks I'm weak? Let's see how she handles losing everything." Eric studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I'm in. Whatever you need." The next few days, Harry played it cool. He didn't mention the cheating again, didn't give Jane the satisfaction of knowing just how much he was planning. She was still acting like she owned the world, like she was the queen and he was some pathetic servant who would stay no matter what she did. She had no idea he had already seen a lawyer, had already started digging into the finances, the legal loopholes, the ways out. Jane didn't just cheat on him. She spit in his face, laughed at his loyalty, treated their marriage like a joke. She didn't deserve a clean break. She deserved repercussions. Then, out of nowhere, the first unexpected twist came. Harry was sitting in his car after work when his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Unknown ***, you don't know me, but I know about Jane. I need to talk to you. It's important. ***. Harry frowned, fingers hovering over the screen. Another one of her friends trying to rub it in? Some idiot playing games? Then another message came through. "Unknown ***, it's about Brad. Please, just meet me at Café Luna tonight. ***. Harry hesitated for half a second. Then, curiosity and anger boiling inside him, he texted back. "Me ***, 7 p.m. Don't waste my time. ***. At exactly 7 p.m., he walked into the dimly lit cafe, scanning the room. And then he saw her. A woman, maybe late 20s, sitting at a corner table with a cup of coffee she wasn't drinking. She looked nervous. As soon as she saw him, she stood up. "Harry." He nodded, taking a seat. "You got 2 minutes. Start talking." She exhaled, rubbing her hands together. "My name's Olivia. Was Brad's girlfriend. Until I found out about your wife." Harry's grip on the table tightened. "What do you mean?" She looked him dead in the eye. "Jane's not the only one who's been lying." And just like that, the game changed. Harry narrowed his eyes, his pulse quickening. "What do you mean by that?" Olivia let out a shaky breath, glancing around as if making sure no one was listening. Then, leaning in, she dropped the bombshell. "Brad has been playing both of us." For a second, Harry thought he misheard her. "What?" She swallowed hard. "I found out a few days ago. I knew something was off, so I checked his phone while he was asleep. He wasn't just seeing Jane. There were others. Multiple women. Some just flings, some more serious. He was feeding them all the same lies, promising them things, making them feel special. It wasn't just about cheating. It was manipulation, like some sick game he was playing." Harry sat back in his chair, letting her words sink in. His rage had been laser-focused on Jane, but now the whole situation had mutated into something even worse. "And you're telling me this because?" he asked, his voice steady but sharp. Olivia clenched her hands together. "Because I want him to pay, and I figured you might feel the same way." Harry stared at her, weighing her words, the betrayal twisting deeper into his gut. He had spent days planning how to make Jane suffer, But now a new thought slithered into his mind. What exactly do you have in mind? Olivia smirked, just a little. Oh, I have plenty of ideas. They spent the next hour piecing together everything they knew. Olivia had screenshots, proof of Brad's conversations with multiple women. Some of them overlapping, happening on the same nights. She had timestamps, receipts, even a few voice recordings. It was damning. Harry listened, his fury burning hotter with every passing second. Jane had thrown away their marriage for this? For a lying, cheating lowlife who wasn't even exclusive with her? The irony was almost laughable. Almost. By the time they left the cafe, a plan had started to form. Step 1, expose Brad. Publicly. Step 2, make sure Jane knew just how much of a fool she had been played for. Step 3, make them both suffer. Harry went home that night feeling more alive than he had in weeks. The betrayal still stung, but now, instead of drowning in it, he was about to turn it into a weapon. The next morning, Jane strutted around the house like she owned it, completely oblivious to what was coming. She still thought she was in control. That changed within hours. At 10 a.m., Olivia dropped the first bomb. A social media post, carefully crafted, revealing Brad's true nature. Screenshots of his messages, timestamps proving his overlapping affairs, even a recorded phone call where he bragged about how easy it was to manipulate women. Olivia didn't just expose him, she annihilated him. And Jane? She was right in the middle of it. The comments exploded. Women started tagging each other, some sharing their own stories about Brad. Within minutes, the post went viral in their social circles. And Jane's phone? It started blowing up. Harry was in the kitchen when he heard the first shriek. What the hell is this? He walked out slowly, watching as Jane stood in the middle of the living room, her face twisted in shock and rage as she scrolled through her phone. Problem? He asked, his voice calm. She spun to him, eyes blazing. Did you see this? Olivia just... She's lying. She's crazy. Harry raised an eyebrow. Oh? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you got played just as hard as I did. Her face turned red. That's not... Brad wouldn't. Oh, come on, Jane, he interrupted, stepping closer. You really think you were the only one? You really thought he wasn't playing the same game with other women? He let out a low chuckle. Guess what? You weren't special. You were just another name on his list. Her lip trembled, but she straightened her shoulders. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't, he agreed. But you will listen to this. He pulled out his phone and, with one click, played the recording Olivia had sent him. Brad's voice, cocky and smug, filled the room. Yeah, Jane thinks she's so smart, but she's just like the rest of them. Tell them what they want to hear, and they'll eat out of your hand. Easy. The color drained from Jane's face. Harry watched as her bravado cracked, the realization finally sinking in. She had been played, used, just like she had used him. And now, she was nothing but another fool. Jane's hands trembled as she gripped her phone, her nails digging into the sides like she wanted to crush it. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her mind was racing, grasping for some kind of defense, some pathetic excuse that would make all of this go away. But there was nothing, no way out. Harry crossed his arms, watching her unravel. Go on, Jane, he said smoothly. Tell me how this is my fault, too. Tell me how you had to cheat, how I was the problem, how Brad was some kind of better option. He tilted his head, his eyes dark with amusement. Or, do you finally get it? She let out a shaky breath. He lied to me. Noah's asterisk. Harry shot back, his voice cold. And you? You lied to me, over and over again. Do you have any idea how pathetic this makes you look? Jane's eyes darted to her phone, scrolling through the comments under Olivia's post. The internet was ruthless. Women were tagging each other, calling Brad a manipulative piece of trash, sharing their own stories of being played by him. And Jane? She wasn't being defended. In fact, a few comments had already singled her out. Wait, isn't Jane the one who left her husband for him? Damn. She really thought she was different, LMAO. Imagine wrecking your marriage for a guy who had a whole damn rotation. Couldn't be me. Oh, so that's the Jane Brad was talking about in those texts? Girl, you got played harder than anyone. She turned to Harry, her face a mess of anger and humiliation. You knew this was coming, didn't you? His smirk deepened. I might have had an idea. Jane clenched her jaw, her breathing uneven. She was used to control, to spinning her web of lies, to manipulating situations in her favor. But now, she had nothing. No defense. No support. No sympathy. Brad wasn't answering her calls. The comments kept coming. The messages from her friends, if she could still call them that, were brutal. And Harry? Harry was just standing there, completely unbothered, enjoying the sight of her crumbling. She tried one last time. This doesn't change what you did to me, Harry, she spat. You were never good enough. You never made me feel alive. You never. He laughed, actually laughed, and that set her off more than anything. You really still think this is about me? He said, shaking his head. Jane, you could have walked away. You could have been honest. You could have said, Harry, I'm not happy, and left before throwing yourself at another man. But no, you wanted both. You wanted to string me along, humiliate me, drain everything out of me while Brad was screwing you in secret. Her face twisted with fury, but he didn't stop. You chose this, and the best part, he gestured to her phone. Now the world gets to see exactly who you are. Her breathing was ragged, her body shaking. I hate you, she whispered. Harry smirked. Good. He turned, walked to the door, and grabbed his keys. He had planned this moment for so long, imagined all the things he'd say. But nothing, nothing, was as satisfying as watching Jane drown in her own mistakes. Before he left, he glanced back at her. Oh, and Jane. She didn't answer. Don't bother coming back. We're done. And with that, he walked out, leaving her standing there, alone, broken, and finally facing the consequences she so desperately deserved. Harry didn't look back as he walked down the driveway, his grip tightening around his keys. The air was crisp, the night quiet, but his mind was anything but. His heart pounded, adrenaline still surging through his veins. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something deeper. Satisfaction. Closure. A feeling he never thought he'd get after all the Jane had put him through. He slid into his car, exhaling as he rested his hands on the steering wheel. The house behind him, the life he'd built with her, it didn't mean a damn thing anymore. He had spent so much time wondering if he wasn't enough for Jane, if he should have fought harder, if there was some way he could have saved their marriage. But the truth was brutal and simple. She never wanted to be saved. She just wanted to win. His phone buzzed. Olivia, holy S. Harry. Have you seen the comments? Jane's getting dragged. ***. He smirked, unlocking his phone. The internet had turned on Jane in a way she never expected. Women who once hyped her up were now distancing themselves. People she thought were on her side were deleting their comments, pretending they never supported her decisions. Jane had always thrived on validation, on knowing that no matter what she did, someone would justify it for her. But this time there was no excuse good enough. He scrolled through the comments, shaking his head. Imagine cheating and thinking you're the victim. Girl, sit down. Karma always comes back. This is wild. Brad had side chicks the whole time and Jane thought she was special. LMFAO. Harry let out a low chuckle. Poetic justice. A call came through. Olivia again. He picked up. Hey, dude, she said immediately. Jane is losing it. She's in the comments trying to defend herself, but it's just making it worse. Not my problem, Harry said flatly, starting his car. Harry, Olivia hesitated, her tone shifting. You good? He sighed, gripping the wheel. Yeah, better than I've been in a long time. And for the first time, he actually meant it. There was nothing left to fight for, nothing left to fix. He had spent too long drowning in Jane's games, questioning himself, trying to be the man she wanted. But Jane never wanted a man. She wanted a puppet. someone she could manipulate, someone who would never challenge her. And Harry? He was done playing the fool. He pulled out of the driveway, leaving Jane and her crumbling reputation behind. Whatever happened next, whatever fallout she had to deal with, it was hers to handle. She made her bed. Now she could lie in it, alone. Harry drove through the quiet streets, the hum of the engine steadying his pulse. It was strange how light he felt, like he'd finally cut away the dead weight that had been dragging him under for so long. No more second-guessing, no more trying to fix something that was rotten to the core. His phone vibrated again. He glanced at the screen. Jane, of course. He let it ring, gripping the wheel tighter. She was panicking, scrambling to do damage control now that the world wasn't on her side anymore. A month ago, maybe even a week ago, he would have answered. He would have let her twist the narrative, would have given her another chance to manipulate him. Not this time. She called again. Then again. By the fourth call, he sighed, pulling into an empty parking lot. Fine. He'd give her one last shot, to bury herself even deeper. He picked up. What do you want, Jane? A shaky breath. Harry, please. I know you're mad, but this has gotten way out of control. People are harassing me, calling me names. My job. Your job? He cut in, laughing bitterly. You mean the one you used as an excuse to run around with Brad? Harry, she snapped, and for the first time, her voice wasn't fake sweet. It was sharp, annoyed, like she was tired of playing the victim. You have no idea what I've been going through. I never meant for any of this to happen. You never meant to get caught, he corrected. Silence. He could practically hear her grinding her teeth. Harry, can we just talk? In person. No. Please. You owe me that. He laughed. I owe you? Are you out of your mind, Jane? More silence. Then, in a lower, almost pleading voice, she said, I just want to explain. Harry exhaled, resting his head against the seat. A part of him wanted to hear it, to hear whatever bull's excuse she was about to spit out, to hear her stumble over her own lies, desperate to save face. But he was done. You don't get to explain, he said, voice steady. You had months to be honest with me. You chose to lie over and over again. So no, Jane. I don't owe you She inhaled sharply, her breath shaking. So that's it. That's it. A pause. Then, in a venomous whisper, she spat. You're a pathetic little man, Harry. And there it was. The real Jane. He smiled. And you're just a washed-up cheater with no one left to lie to. He hung up before she could reply. The weight on his chest was gone. For the first time in years, he was free. And Jane? She was just another mistake he'd never make again. Harry tossed his phone onto the passenger seat and stared out through the windshield, his pulse steady. The night outside felt different, lighter, freer, like he had finally stopped suffocating in the illusion Jane had built around him. He thought back to the past few months, the slow, agonizing unraveling of everything he believed about his marriage. The nights Jane came home late, smelling like a cologne he didn't own. The fake concern when he questioned her. The way she dismissed his gut feelings made him doubt himself. And the worst part? He had let her gaslight him into believing he was paranoid. Let her walk all over him while he clung to the hope that maybe, he was wrong. That she was still the woman he married. But now the truth was out, and she had no more masks left to wear. A sudden knock on the driver's side window snapped him out of his thoughts. He turned his head sharply. Brad. The audacity. Harry let out a slow breath and rolled down the window just enough to keep things civil. You lost. Brad's smirk was as smug as ever. We need to talk. Harry tilted his head, feigning curiosity. We? Brad scoffed. Yeah, me and Jane. He actually had the nerve to say her name like that. Like it meant something. Like he had any right. Harry clenched his jaw but forced himself to stay composed. I don't think you and I have anything to discuss. See, that's where you're wrong. Brad leaned against the car, arms crossed. Jane's a mess. You really gonna leave her like this? A laugh bubbled up in Harry's chest, cold and bitter. You're asking me to take care of the woman you helped destroy my marriage with? Brad rolled his eyes, like Harry was the one being unreasonable. It's not that deep, man. You knew your marriage was over. Jane just saw the writing on the wall first. Harry's fingers flexed on the steering wheel. This guy actually believed his own bulls *****. Look, Brad continued, clearly mistaking Harry's silence for consideration. We had something real. She told me everything. You weren't making her happy. She needed. Harry moved fast. Too fast for Brad to react. He was out of the car, grabbing Brad by the collar, slamming him against the door with a force that rattled through his own bones. Brad's smirk disappeared. His eyes widened, hands flying up in a pathetic attempt to push Harry off. Whoa, man. Chill the F*** out. Say another word, Harry growled, his voice deadly calm. Go ahead. Tell me more about my wife. Brad swallowed hard, his bravado cracking. Harry shoved him back against the car one last time, then let go. Run back to Jane, he muttered, stepping away. Tell her she's your problem now. Brad didn't wait to be told twice. He scrambled backward, cursing under his breath as he straightened his shirt and backed toward his car. You're crazy, man, he muttered, shaking his head. No wonder she left you. Harry just smiled. A slow, knowing smile. The kind that let Brad know exactly how wrong he was. Because Jane didn't leave. She got left behind. Harry watched as Brad scurried off like the coward he was, muttering under his breath but not daring to stay any longer. The moment his car peeled out of the parking lot, the tension in Harry's chest finally loosened. He exhaled slowly, feeling the sharp edge of his anger dull into something more controlled. Let him run back to Jane. Let her deal with her mess. He had spent too long trying to fix something that was never meant to be saved. Climbing back into his car, he checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Jane. A text too. Jane ****, Harry. Stop ignoring me. We need to talk. Asterisk. He smirked, shaking his head. Talk? Oh, now she wanted to talk? After weeks of lies, gaslighting, and betrayal? After he'd caught her red-handed, not just cheating, but actively enjoying the destruction of their marriage? No, she didn't want to talk. She wanted control, and she wasn't getting it. Instead of replying, Harry started the engine and drove home, the streets blurring past as he settled into a dangerous sort of calm. His mind was clearer than it had been in months. He wasn't going to let her drag this out. He wasn't going to let her manipulate her way into his head again. By the time he reached their house, the decision was already made. He was done. As he pulled into the driveway, he saw her, Jane, standing on the porch in one of her tight little dresses, arms crossed, phone in hand. Her expression was a perfect mix of anger and feigned innocence, as if she had the right to be upset. Harry didn't rush to get out. He let her stand there, shifting her weight impatiently, waiting for him like she still had some kind of hold over him. Finally, he stepped out, closing the car door behind him with deliberate slowness. Harry, what the hell? She snapped before he could even reach the steps. You've been ignoring me all night. He raised an eyebrow. You mean since I caught you cheating? She huffed, rolling her eyes. Oh my God, we've been over this. It wasn't like that. He tilted his head. Not like that? So what? You accidentally ended up in bed with another man. Jane sighed dramatically, as if he was the one being unreasonable. I was confused. You weren't giving me what I needed. And Mary. Ah, right, he cut in. Mary, your little empowerment coach. The same Mary who told you to explore your options before settling down. Jane had the audacity to glare. She made me realize I deserve more than just existing in a boring marriage. Harry chuckled, but there was no humor in it. So your solution was to spread your legs for the first guy who gave you attention? Her face twisted in fury. That's not fair. Fair. He took a step closer, and for the first time in their entire relationship, he saw it. Fear star. Not fear of him hurting her. No, Jane was too self-absorbed to ever think he'd actually do something. She was afraid because she had lost control. You want to talk about Fair? He continued, voice eerily calm. Fair is not lying to your husband while sneaking around with some loser. Fair is not blaming me for your own selfish choices. Fair is not trying to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy for suspecting the truth. Jane opened her mouth, but he wasn't done. I trusted you, he said, quieter now, but with more weight. I built a life with you, and the moment you got bored, instead of communicating, instead of trying, you destroyed everything. And you expect me to feel bad? She swallowed hard, her usual confidence faltering. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. He laughed, shaking his head. You didn't mean for it to happen, but you sure as hell enjoyed it, didn't you? That hit a nerve. Her face hardened, and just like that, the fake remorse disappeared. You know what? Fine. Maybe I did. Maybe Brad gave me something you couldn't. There it was. The real Jane. Harry smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Good. She blinked, thrown off. What? I said good. He pulled a manila envelope from his jacket and held it out. Her eyes darted between him and the envelope. What is this? Divorce papers. Her mouth fell open. You already filed them? Yeah. He shrugged. Turns out, when your wife openly admits to cheating, it speeds up the process. Jane's entire face paled. You can't just. I can. Her hands trembled as she grabbed the envelope, flipping through the pages. Harry, please, we can fix this. He took a step back, shaking his head. No, you broke this, and I'm done picking up the pieces. For the first time, Jane looked genuinely scared. Not of him, but of what she had lost. And Harry? He had never felt lighter. Jane's lips parted as if she had something else to say. Some final plea. Some last-ditch effort to pull him back into the twisted game she had been playing for far too long. But Harry had already turned away. He stepped off the porch, moving with a certainty he hadn't felt in years. Harry! She called after him. Her voice a mixture of desperation and disbelief. We can talk about this. He paused only for a moment, just enough to glance back over his shoulder. No, Jane, he said, his voice calm, unwavering. You already said everything that mattered when you chose someone else. And with that, he walked away. The night air was cool against his skin as he made his way to his car, sliding into the driver's seat with a deep exhale. The weight that had been pressing on his chest for months, no years, was gone. As he pulled out of the driveway for the last time, he didn't look back. He didn't need to. The past was behind him, and for the first time in a long time, the future felt like his. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Another call from Jane, but he ignored it. Instead, he reached for the dial, turning up the volume on the radio as the music filled the car. A small smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Tomorrow he'd sign the final papers. Tomorrow he'd start fresh. But tonight he was free.